Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar, which is part of the Star Business Solutions 2021 webinar series. We'll be highlighting Procore, which is a specialist software for the building and construction industry today. Procore integrates with various software products, including various ERP products. Today, we will concentrate the discussion on the integration of Procore and Myob Advanced. However, bearing that in mind, it does integrate with other ERP systems, so everything we'll be talking about today does apply for other business management ERP software systems such as Greentree, etc., if you are using that product instead of Advanced. Unfortunately, it's just a little too difficult to highlight various different integrations all at the same time. So thank you for registering today and giving up your time for this webinar. Just a couple of housekeeping issues. We will be taking questions at the end of the presentation. So I'd ask that you type your questions in as we go to the question area. That way you don't forget them by the time we get to the end of the presentation. We'll also be recording today's webinar, and a link to the recording will be sent to everyone who has registered within 24 hours of the end of the presentation. There is also a handout for today's webinar. If you notice in your control box, not sure where you've positioned it on the screen, but the second last area just between questions and chat says handouts. If you click on that, you'll see the handout and you'll be able to download the handout from there. What we'll be discussing today, there'll be short welcome and introductions, which I'm doing now. Then I'll hand it over to Craig, who will talk about what is happening in construction, talk about Procore, a platform for approach for single source of truth, and then we'll move on to the Q&A session. My name is Norman Hall. I'm the Director of Marketing and co-owner of Star Business Solutions. Our guest presenter today is Craig from Procore. He is their Channel Manager, ASEAN and ANZ. We've also got as a panelist for the Q&A session, Ted, who is an account executive with Star Business Solutions, and he has also dealt with interactions between Advanced and Procore. So, without further ado, I will hand it over to Craig, who will start today's presentation.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Norm. And yeah, look, welcome everyone, and thank you once again here for taking time today. Really good to have a chat to you around Procore and our new initiative with our go-to-market, particularly around Myob. But really, as Norman touched on, around how we're connecting into ERPs in general, and connecting really the front office and the back office. So today, what I wanted to talk about is just give a really good high overview of what Procore is, what we're about, what we're trying to solve for, and really this concept of bringing everything together on a single platform to have that kind of single source of truth in there. So first of all, just wanted to say thank you again, one, for your time, two, from an industry as a whole, with everything that we've been going through with COVID and the last couple of weeks with shutdowns and everything. It's a really interesting time, obviously, at the moment. And then really, kind of in general, when we talk to our construction companies and our building partners, one of the things that has really become a realization to me is literally building the future. So we're really keen to start partnering right across the board from a construction industry perspective. Yes, we'll be talking around kind of project management and general contractors and subbies, but one of the things that I really want to get across today is how we're actually connecting everyone within the construction industry and bringing that all together. And so that kind of really touches on who Procore is and how Procore got started. So Procore in itself has been built from the ground up from a builder's perspective. It was started 20 odd years ago with our founder, Tui Quartermanch, that was building his own house basically, and thought, you know what, there's really got to be a better way to connect all the different teams that are coming in across from the subcontractors, the plumbers, and making sure that everyone has the ability to see who's on track, where we're falling behind, where there might be some issues, and making sure everyone has that same kind of view at the same time. And so it's really been built from the ground up, but putting people first. It is a mobile, on-site driven application. We're going to talk a little bit more how we push that into the back office today, but it is, again, starting from a people-centric approach, making sure it's easy to use. All the development that has been going on, obviously in the last 20 years, but really in the last kind of 6 to 7 years, where it's really started to scale out as technology has broadened across different regions, but also things like smartphones and tablets have become secondary on-site, access on-site as well, really started to scale out. And when you talk to a lot of the team at Procore, even here in Sydney, where we've built out 100 strong crew in the last 4 or so years, it's mostly people from the construction industry. I myself am more from the technology industry, but I sit down every day with ex-project managers, ex-on-site tradies that are actually working in the background, working with the companies that we've already brought on board to the Procore family to really help them kind of adopt work practices, best workflows, customizing forms that are best fit to the way that they work. So we are really driven from the site up within there as well. And that really shines through on the partnerships that we're building across those different technologies, whether it's hardware and drones and mobile, making sure that we're connecting into financial packages and ERPs and the back office, making sure that we're connecting into things like legislation, things like quality and safety, which is a massive, big change for us here in New South Wales at the moment. And to give you a view, you may, well, hopefully you've heard of Procore before. You may not have heard of Procore before, but as I say, it's been around for 20-something years. In the last 4 to 5 years, there's been an expansion from an international perspective. They recently just IPO'd earlier this year, so there's a lot of money going into building out localized team, localized support, having that regional functionality built into the platform. But if you look globally, there's something like, it's closer to 10,000 odd customers, where something over 1,500 different companies across owners, general contractors, subbies here in ANZ. Like I said, we've built up a team that is 100 strong here in Australia, that is across our development team, our technical team, sales and marketing, but the majority of that goes into what we call our customer success team, which is our guys that actually work with customers and helping them adapt the platform, customizing the platform so it's best fits the way that they work. And we also obviously have a really good partner network here, obviously Star Business Solutions being one of those key partners, and being able to help connect the front office, where we're talking about having guys on the field using the Procore platform, into the back office where we're going through the administration side of things, approving invoices and quotes, etc., and pushing that back out. So having partners such as Star Business Solutions is a key part of our ecosystem because they know your business more than anyone else, and helping connect the dots between those different teams in there. But if you're really keen to understand a little bit more about who we're working with and how we've been working with various companies in Australia and New Zealand, there is an absolute ton of customer case studies on our website. I think the latest one we just launched today was Fletcher Construction in New Zealand. I know Balmain Co is another really key one that just recently we pushed out around them changing platforms and bringing a whole bunch of different applications into the one platform in there as well. Go into our YouTube channel, again, a lot of video case studies on there as well. And actually coming up in a couple of weeks, we've got our big global summit called Groundbreak as well that I'll touch on at the end. But look, a lot of case studies across those different, I guess, personas in the construction industry, and across various different projects as well, whether it be kind of big high-rise or some of the kind of public works in there as well. And by all means, if you wanted to find who's the most relatable to who you are and what you do, by all means, reach out to the guys at Star Business Solutions. We'll put together and bring together the right case studies to give you a view on how we worked with companies locally in a similar kind of space, and give you a real world view, and absolutely connect you into those companies as well. A lot of what we do as part of our kind of onboarding process is getting you in contact with other customers that we've already got on board. So again, providing real world context as to how they're actually using our tools and our processes in there. And that kind of leads me into, at the heart of Procore, what we're all about. And it really is improving the lives of everyone in construction. And I just touched on, the main contractors and the subcontractors, but it's also about connecting in the architects and the consultants and the quantity surveyors. It's also about giving access into your administration, your finance, your insurance teams, basically anyone that needs to be involved in your project. The way that Procore is built is about giving anyone access that you need to, simply by adding them to your project. And obviously, there's administration and permissions that you can set, so they can only see certain things, but there's no limit to who you can add or the number of people that you can add, which is really important as well. And so that kind of leads me into the why Procore is here. And I'm sure I don't need to explain why construction is getting increasingly complex, but inherently it is, it's an industry sector that involves so many different teams, so many different checkpoints, so many different kind of outside and inside councils that need to be across, how projects are going, how future projects are going, how past projects have gone, having auditability within there as well. One of the really interesting things that is coming out at the moment, particularly if you're based in New South Wales, is that you understand there is a massive change going on with the New South Wales Building Commission and what David Chandler is doing about bringing the sector, back into responsibility around things like quality. And there's a big change in legislation that went through earlier this year that is all about driving quality, making sure that there's that auditability in there for defects, making sure that there's plans and ITPs and checkpoints in there, so that as you go through the project and 2-3 years down the line, you've got that ability to go back and show all the work, all the checkpoints, everything that you've done in there, and have that as a report, as auditability, to have that in real time as well. One of the interesting things that, I don't know if you follow David Chandler on LinkedIn, but watch his videos. He goes on site and he kind of calls it as it is, and he asks for the info right then and there. And if you can't present it, or you're having to go back and find folders and cross-reference folders, and then find an email, find a spreadsheet, and start pulling that together and they're asking you to do that within 24 hours, right? Here is where we're trying to help solve for that, so that you've got that in your hand. On your tablet, you can start going in and showing, those work permits. You can show the ITPs, you can show those stop points and checkpoints of where things have been signed off in there, right then and there. And again, that's one of the key things that we like to talk about, is having that single source of truth in real time across all those stakeholders. And that also talks to, in general, the way that we build has changed a lot in that, so that last kind of 20 years. Obviously, still a lot of paper-based workflows out there. The change to that internet and mobile space had been a big slog for until we got to things like decent kind of 4G or having satellite connections for remote work sites in there. All of those things, as they've changed and they've been able to speed up that process, we've got to a point now where we can digitalize a lot of those solutions. And some of the tool sets that we'll talk about today. But as we start to look into what kind of comes next, a big part of that is that insights. And that kind of comes back to that reporting, that comes back to that analytics, that single source of truth, so that you're actually starting to be able to predict things, around subcontractors that are tending to be sometimes late or overworked, or defects tend to start showing up on on certain projects, etc. These are all the types of insights that once you start digitalizing your work processes and your tool sets, the key thing is about taking that data, making sure it's not in silos, so that you're not having to poke around emails and spreadsheets and different platforms. It's actually being brought together and it's being shaped in a way that it's relevant to the person that's viewing it. So, building those reporting and those analytics for developers versus, the main contractors are looking about, projects and budgets and timelines and deliveries, versus subbies that are making sure they're getting paid on time for the work that they've done, versus opening those reports up to your legal team, your finance team, your insurance team, so they can go out and win more work for you by showing that you've got all this analytics, you're showing that you can present what you're doing, how you're doing, and how you're successful in that, again, in that real-time space. So this is where we're driving to by having a platform-first approach. Is it's not just about digital tools and apps, etc. It's also about bringing that all together and making sure that comes back into a meaningful, presentable, and easy to read way. And again, it's about delivering it to the right people at the right time in the right format. And so this is where we're seeing a lot of the struggles coming out of that first or second generation of that digital approach, right? A lot of what we're doing isn't brand new. When we're talking about doing things like defects or work lists, we've been able to do these things in quote unquote digital ways through spreadsheets before, but it's about not having that disconnected approach. Spreadsheets mean double ups and copying and pasting, and that increases errors, and getting emailed to other teams and then resent back through to other teams. All that kind of double work and rework leads to not only less productivity but increased risk. It also means if you're using 20 different apps to get the job done, that's 20 different trainings that you're having to do. That's 20 different administration and licenses that you need to keep across. And it also means the data is sitting in these 20 different silos. So yes, we're getting digitalized, but are we actually really kind of solving for anything? And are we producing those kind of insights out of it? And so that's where we start talking about the platform approach, about making sure that it's open, so that it is open to anyone that needs to be able to see it from a user's perspective. Also open to connecting into other platforms when it needs to be, and that's a key point of what we want to talk about today. Is when we look at things like Myob Advanced, things like Greentree, fantastic platforms in themselves. Again, really key platforms about looking at the I guess the back office, the finance, the accountancy side of it, etc. And so pairing those two platforms together, making sure that they're connected, making sure that they have a free flow of information, making sure that they're also flexible, right? Particularly when you look at customizing Greentree, customizing Myob Advanced, customizing other ERP systems to make sure that they're best fit. Procore taking the same approach, that would give you a really good base level platform that allow you to be able to customize it in a way that's going to be best fit. And obviously, also secure in that as well. Basic things like permission sets, basic things like backup data, making sure you know where it's stored, being able to export it as well, both from a backup and security perspective, but also allowing you to take that information and plug it into other platforms that might be best fit in terms of analytics and business intelligence, etc. as well. These are the things that we talk about when we talk about that kind of platform approach. So we're bringing it together, but we're not limiting you in terms of the best fit tools. And obviously, if we have those disconnected project teams, we have that kind of fragmentation around visibility. We're having too many tools and inconsistent data. That is where we are, not only reducing productivity, but we're also increasing our risk profile, a risk profile in terms of errors, a risk profile in terms of double ups, and also having those kind of segmented silos. So again, everything that we're trying to do from a platform perspective, what Procore is about is bringing that all together. So we are increasing productivity and we're decreasing that risk profile, and having that ability to be able to have that single source of truth in there as well. So really great talking about that. Yes, I'm sure that sounds like nirvana, but how do we actually do that, right? How do you connect the people? How do you connect the technology and projects to build in that better way? And this is where we talk about our overall platform, our Procore ecosystem. So if we start at the top, we've got the ability to connect into those different, I guess, personas, those different key areas that we need to be able to make sure everyone is connected across. So whether it's from a developer perspective, whether it's the general main contractor, whether it's the subby, the engineers, the architects, they're all really key in having that input and having that feedback across the platform. Then if we look at what I call our different modules or our pillars, where we're really kind of strong, is that pre-construction phase around the bidding and the tendering. We're just about to launch estimating within there as well. You'll start to see a little bit more of that start coming up from Procore in the next kind of couple of months. What we're really core at, what most people know about us, is obviously that project management, but then resource management, around field productivity, around equipment, etc. as well, and then financial management. When I talk about financial management, more around that kind of job costing side of things. What we're not is an accountancy platform. What we're not is a general ledger, which is why we have what we call that Procore Map Marketplace, where we plug into key other applications and platforms, such as Myob Advanced, such as Green Tree, so that we've got the ability to pass that information across. It also allows us to make sure that when we're playing in regions or in particular industries where we're not the expert, that we're allowing people to build into our platform. A really good example of that, again, is things like work permits, things like swims. Really, well, again, really at the moment, things like COVID as well, making sure that people can check in and check out. So we work with really key partners like Hammertech or Sign On Site or One Breadcrumb in there as well, where they're really key experts at what they do and making sure that they get their job done, and then passing that information across and tagging into those right projects, right? Underneath that then is our analytics engine, which is more than just reporting. It's about providing that kind of business intelligence, that predictability, but also bringing in other platforms, other applications as well. So our analytics is not just tied to what Procore is and what Procore does. It's actually a platform in itself to bring in other key areas so that you're bringing all the right information together and building those dashboards that are going to be able to pull all of that together and making sure you've got that kind of single panel view in there. Underneath all of that is obviously the core platform and our tools. And that's where we talk about customization. That's where we talk about those custom workflows in there as well, having that searchability. But when I think about that customization and workflows, again, that brings me back to why it's really key to have a partner, such as Star Business Solutions, that really understands your business, understands the actual workflows between the way that your teams work, and making sure that then we build that into things like forms, we build that into our correspondence tools, help build that into the action plans tools. So we have a lot of base templates, obviously, and for some companies just starting out, they could be absolutely bang on for what they need. But if you're coming from a little bit more of established workflows, then it's about making sure that we do build in that customization, we build in those workflows, and there's no one better suited to someone to be able to do that than someone that knows your business. And that's, again, why we have our partner networks, working with partners such as Star Business Solutions to really tie that into their workflows and connect it to those other platforms, making sure that it is passing through to the right teams at the right time. And I guess if you want to get a view of how we kind of relate, when we talk about platforms, everyone knows Amazon and Zoom and Facebook. These are just really good examples of other platforms, right? Procore is really a good key platform from construction, but similar to the way Amazon transformed the way that we buy now. It's not just about logging on and shopping and getting things delivered, which I'm sure we've already excelled at during COVID. But if you're someone that's looking to break into e-commerce and start selling your products to the world, Amazon has all those tools around e-commerce, building an online shop, having the payment platforms in the background, having the ability to store videos, having the ability to store photos, build up marketing campaigns. The Amazon Marketplace is more than just for the shopper. It's there for businesses to build and grow and use their tool sets all in the one space, and then plug into those other key areas such as payments like Visa and PayPal, etc. Shopify, again, really kind of similar in building up that kind of e-commerce experience, but just being able to start from a copy, paste, and click perspective, starting out from the basics and getting more and more complex as your business grows. Zoom, again, I'm sure we've all got Zoom, a little bit of Zoom fatigue at the moment because it's transformed how we met. Everyone working remote, it's now all video based, but again, it's not just video and audio, it's also to be able to host, similar to what we're doing today, webinars on there, being able to host documents in there as well. And well, Facebook's might be a little bit controversial at the moment, but Facebook again, right, transform how we engage. It's not just about, you know, sharing photos, etc. It's about being able to do video calls. You've also got things like, you know, Facebook Marketplace and their Facebook groups, being able to share that kind of documents, have, you know, they've got webcams and etc. and that as well. So when we talk about platforms, it's about delivering that kind of outcome, but grouping all the necessary tools and products that are required to do that all in one place. That's really what we're talking about platforms, is making sure you've got all the tools that you need at one time, all in one place, because then it makes it a hell of a lot easier to get your head around and learn and teach and train, but also expand and grow and connect in there as well. Like I say, that's what we're all about, right? Is connecting that entire project team. So whether it's the owners that are looking to get across portfolio management, getting that financial visibility right across their entire portfolio and being able to dive deeper into each project as they need, whether you're coming from a general contractor, main contractor point of view, it's about getting those insights and analytics to manage the project, making sure you're on time, on budget. And for that, you need to make sure that your subbies have the right tools to be able to put in the right information in there and share those photos and defects, attach them to drawings. But if you're the subby, it's really a key way of showing that you've done the work, that the progress is going through, submitting those progress claims through the same platform that the main contractor is going to approve it, which is the same platform that's going to push it through to the admin team to be able to approve those and pay those as well. Again, this is what we're looking to do, is actually be that, I guess, that core tool set across the various teams. And similar to what I just talked through, right? It's all about going back and forth across those different teams, making sure that we've got those loops, making sure we've got those decision trees, review, approve, revise, pay, and then go back to square one again and repeat it across the next project. But we know already that it's going to get across all these different teams. So why not have a centralized platform that everyone can use from an input perspective, but also, you know, from a visibility perspective, and also from an accountability perspective as well. So we dive a little bit deeper into some of those tool sets. And there is a, you know, even here now, if you look under, you know, pre-construction, the pre-qualification, bid management, estimation. When we go deeper into project management, you know, we're talking about core tools under project management, things like RFIs, you know, things like correspondence, getting away from separated emails, but connecting into emails and bringing it all together. You know, talking about drawings, talking about, you know, rework, talking about just document storage as well, photo storage in there as well. Quality and safety, a really big part of what's going on, obviously at the moment from a New South Wales perspective. Design coordination, BIM, you know, a really key part of our project management core tools is obviously drawings, you know, taking the PDF of the drawings, automatically scanning those, you know, splitting them up and ordering and numbering them, making sure that we've got, you know, revisions that are automatically upgraded so that everyone's working on the same set of drawings at the same time, and then attaching those to BIM. So taking the 2D and pulling it into the 3D side of things as well. And again, all driven through from a mobile perspective. So anyone on site can see the right drawings, they can see the markups, they can see where there's, you know, defects or RFIs, and they can see that, you know, obviously 2D, 3D, etc. as well. When we look at resource management, obviously the field productivity from a people perspective, as well as an equipment perspective. And then when we get into that financial management, so yeah, there's that project financials, invoice management, that kind of portfolio view, that capital planning, and then really key, that accounting integrations. Again, you know, we're not a general ledger. but it's about making sure that all that information is pulled and collected, on site, pushed into the back office, approved, pushed back onto the project management team as well, and it's all in in real time, and no one's having to copy and paste anything within there as well. So if we dive a bit deeper into that app marketplace, so again, where we're not the experts in a particular area, or there's a certain key application that the teams might already be working with, we have a huge app marketplace that plugs into our platform. There's something like 350, I think it's closer to 400 now, third-party applications available. We have a dedicated team here in Australia and New Zealand that is working with some of the key applications. We talk about Myob, I talked about kind of Sign on Site and HammerTech, but we're always looking for new applications that are solving for something in the construction industry that we can integrate with, and then be able to share that information across the two platforms. And where we don't have an out-of-the-box solution, so yes, we have an out-of-the-box solution for Myob Advanced Construction Edition, but we don't actually have an out-of-the-box solution for Greentree, because Greentree is so customizable and gets so into, I guess, individual workflows. But that's why we have what we call APIs. And APIs are basically really just the back-end connectors, so that we can allow anyone to build a custom connection in there as well. And again, that's where partners such as Star Business Solutions really come into it with their development team, understanding, okay, what part of Greentree do we need to connect into what part of Procore? And again, that's completely open. It's all customizable. We don't have any kind of blockers for anyone to build any connectors in there. So again, we have a whole bunch of these pre-built connectors that's literally kind of plug and play to connect those applications. But where it needs to be more customizable, more bespoke, absolutely, we've got the ability for people to be able to build that with our connectors, with our APIs in there as well. And depending on I guess the application, sometimes it's built into an external application, like I said, email, our correspondence tool, allows people to connect into a Gmail account, an Outlook account. It'll take those emails and then pull them into our correspondence tool. So you're not having to go across everyone's emails and trying to understand who uses what and who sent what when. Those emails can be actually tagged and pulled into the platform and attached to the project. So not everything, like I say, not everything has to be done in Procore. That's why we have these connectors to just pull that information automatically in there. And then you've got others like our 360-degree videos, open space and IP cameras. In some cases, you can actually just build that directly into the project. So as soon as you open up that project, not only are you seeing the reports and the work that needs to be done, but you're seeing the live stream of the site in there as well. So again, a number of different ways that we can connect into a whole different number of applications. Again, we're not the experts at everything. Where we do find the experts, we make sure that we plug into them so they're pulling that back into the project and having that single point of view. So if I just touch on the Myob Advanced Construction Edition, this is a relatively new partnership for us. We've been working for the last year or so, making sure that we've got the right technical backend, but we're building up the relationship with Myob. We've built up the relationship with Myob partners. That's why I'm here today, to make sure that we've got that ability to support customers and bring them across to the Myob platform and the Procore platform, and making sure that we are building that interaction and those workflows through to the teams. So if I look at a really high level of the Procore and Myob connector, if you look at the top in orange, that's our Procore platform. In the lower half there, That is the MYOB kind of platform. So think of on-site versus back at the office, right? That kind of running the tender management from within the project, coming back into the office, into the CRM, where you've got, the different relationships that you have with the different contractors in there, pushing that back out on site to resource management, who's on site when, where's the equipment on site when, when a invoice is coming through from approval, pushing that back into financial management, getting that approved, pushing that back out to the project management, pushing that back into the back office, pushing that back into inventory management to understanding where stuff is, where and when and where it needs to be. Obviously things like payroll in there as well. And then again, both of us plugging into those different applications. Again, if I think of, for swims and permits, etc., we're both plugging into someone like One Breadcrumb or Sign On Site. So it's not what tool is better for what, it's actually, okay, who is using, who's working on the project, what's the best tool for that person to be able to get the insights that they need. So there's actually a lot of crossover in what MYOB Advanced Construction and Procore does, and that's for a very good reason, because it's depending on who's viewing that project as to which system is going to be best fit for them. So if they're coming at it from a more administrative and financial point of view, get all the information that they need to see in MYOB, right? Pull the right information that they need out of Procore. If you're on site, if you're the project manager, why would you need to try and learn 2 or 3 different platforms? Use the Procore platform. That's what you're using day in, day out. Pull the right information out from MYOB and be able to get that visibility. This is what we're really talking about, is having that overlap is key, because that allows us to push and pull the right information into the right hands of the right people using the right tools. Again, increasing productivity and reducing the risk profile in there, because everything is happening in real time and it's happening through connectors, not through copy and pasting of spreadsheets and emails and documents, etc. So if I dive a little bit deeper into some of those touch points where we're connecting, again, you'll see on the left-hand side, MYOB Advanced Construction and Procore. So you see we're pushing and pulling from a company level and what advanced AP vendors and AR customers. Again, pushing and pulling across vendor insurance. And that depends, that's a key one where that all may be run by the admin team, or that might be being run by the project manager. It doesn't matter where you start it, it allows you to flick it to and forth across both platforms. Cost codes, projects, tasks, projects, account groups, cost types, cost budget. Again, MYOB and Procore are doing similar things, but we've got that ability to push and pull across. And then there's a couple of areas you'll see there with Procore, purchase orders and subcontracts. We'll pull that from Procore, commitment change, pulling that from Procore. But when it comes to expenses and transactions, yes, we're pulling that from MYOB into Procore, and again, invoices and AP. So again, this is why we have such a key overlap, because we want to make sure that we've got the ability to pass these across. And again, if we touch on the green tree piece, we don't have an out of the box connector because it is so customizable and individualized. But all of those different aspects in the Procore tool, vendor insurance, cost codes, project subcodes, those are all connectors that we can build into as well and have that customization in there. So we're still pulling all of those. Basically, any of the tools that in Procore have an API, have one of those connectors to be able to pull it into the right field, into something like Greentree as well. So what does that all mean, right? Again, we're all driven about making sure everyone has access to everything in the tool that they need. So drawings, like I say, is such a key one for Procore, making sure that there's reduction of that miscommunication, making sure everyone is seeing the up-to-date drawings, right? The right revision at the right time. They can only work on the most up-to-date revision. They can go back and see previous revisions and see changes, but you're doing markups and RFIs directly on to those drawings. And that's directly on, for a subby who's on site, sees that there's something not quite right, go straight into the drawing, draw a little box around it, add a comment, hey, what do we need to do here? I just want to question the color of this or the texture of this. That then automatically pushes that workflow to the GC, the main contractor, pulls up the same information, seeing the same commentary, adds a commentary in there, tagging photos in there as well. If that needs to be pushed up to the developer, push it up to the developer. Again, whether they're on site, in the trailer, or in the office, they're seeing the same thing at the same time, and all that commentary is moving back and forth in real time in there as well. Similarly, across, like I say, RFIs, going in, having a look at that, asking for more information, tracking that from a portfolio point of view. Obviously, a really key one, project financials, what's running on time, what's running behind, etc. What's on budget, what's over budget, what invoices are outstanding from the subby. Hey, I need to get paid. I'm submitting the work that I've done. Here's proof that I've done it. Please approve and pay me. Thank you very much. And so just touching on, I guess, pulling it back, why we're seeing such, I guess, demand for Procore is that we are solely focused in the construction industry. That's all we do. That's who we build for. And we have an unlimited use model, right? Because we need to make sure everyone has access to the project at any one time. So the way that we're priced is built around unlimited users. So anyone can rock up onto the website, add them to the project, just via their email address. They download the app. They've got everything that they need. They've got the same tools that anyone else has on the project site. Unlimited support. So anyone that has access to the platform has unlimited support, whether that is through our online training and certification, but chat support, phone support. Doesn't matter if they're the one that's paid for the platform or there's simply a subby that's come on that day and needs to understand how to attach a photo. Unlimited support on there. Again, making sure that we've got that kind of success factor and that adoption factor. And then unlimited storage, because we are connecting everything to everyone. Doesn't matter how many drawings, how many photos, how many videos, all unlimited storage in there. So key focus for us, construction is all we do. We know how the industry needs to work and needs to come together. Unlimited users, unlimited support, unlimited storage in there as well. Now, one last thing I wanted to do before we went to question time is just to show you how we kind of pull that all together, which is what we call action plans. This is the new tool set that we've built almost specifically to make sure that we've got our, a really key platform for ITPs, and we're helping companies make sure they're compliant with what's happening with the New South Wales Building Commission in there as well. Let me just do a little bit of a change. I will just hit play and hopefully this will come through.
Are your ITPs lost, incomplete, inaccurate? Stop relying on manual solutions that don't support or future-proof your quality assurance plans. Introducing Procore Action Plans to help you plan, execute, and collaborate to achieve quality compliance outcomes. Using Procore's best-in-class drawings, photos, and inspections tools, Action Plans is a consolidated approach to your quality plan. Build your plans and ITPs from templates that can be optimized and passed down from project to project. Dynamically import these templates into the project and customize based on your requirements. Set the supporting criteria and seamlessly execute on that plan from one controlled location. Outline plan sections and steps, add descriptions or expectations, and link to the necessary documentation. Get insight into program overrun and maintain accountability for all critical milestones through verification methods. Gather signatures and records to ensure standards and necessary stakeholder involvement. Access actionable supporting documentation and clarify expectations with checklists and forms from any mobile device. Site teams now have the clarity they need to execute your plan successfully, as the action plan updates in real time. Track progress of records so your plan can keep moving forward. Access and export your plan to show the full picture of intent and outcomes quickly for quality and safety management. Work collaboratively. Improve your quality program and verify standards. See the whole picture. Procore action plans, built for quality.
It's just one of the, I guess, the latest tools, but it's actually bringing together a whole lot of different tools across drawings, correspondence, RFIs, etc. In there as well. I know sometimes the audio doesn't always come through on some of those things that clearly. Pop onto our YouTube channel. It's just under action plans there as well. But again, just one key way of where we're taking that platform approach to bring so many different tools together into that one workflow, to having that one visibility and that single source of truth in there as well. And so that's all I wanted to talk to you about today. Hopefully, I know there was a lot there, but it's just to give you a view of Procore, that platform, some of the tools that we've got and how we're bringing that together and how we're delivering that and integrating that into the rest of your systems and workflows in there. And the last thing I'll touch on before I hand it back to the team is Groundbreak, which is our big conference, is coming up very soon, October 12th to 14th. It is a virtual event. We do have a lot of sessions specifically for the APAC region as well. If you want to find out more, jump onto our website, just in the Procore Groundbreak as well. But again, thank you for your time today, and I'll hand it back over to the team.
Thank you for that, Craig. I actually learned a few more things myself. I've seen the presentation a couple of times now, and it's certainly a little bit different than what used to be. People who may not know my background, but I was to be the 5th generation of builders and carpenters. My family were father, then one of the sons, and one of the sons, and one of the sons, etc. Took over the family business, if you like, for building and carpentry, and I broke the mold, albeit that back in the early days I was a director of our family construction company until I moved on. That's a long time ago, and things certainly have changed since then. Okay, we've got a couple of questions here, which we'll go through fairly quickly, because I know we're probably going to go a little bit over time. Whilst I'm going through these questions that have appeared, don't forget there is a handout. So if you go to the handout section and click on that, you can download it if you so wish. So the first question I have here, I'll just take Craig off mute. Good. And this probably relates to Craig. I'll get, this is my question. Where do most companies start with Procore, Craig?
Yeah, a lot of companies will start definitely from that project management side. When we start talking about that kind of documents and tools, email correspondence, RFIs and drawings, that is still really the core kind of components of Procore that tends to solve for a lot of that paperwork-based type stuff. So a lot will start with project management. However, we're also seeing a lot start with quality and safety as well. So particularly around the defects lists, but also particularly around what we call safety essentials. So when companies are looking to become kind of ISO certified as well, to win kind of that state federal government work as well. So it's normally those two sets, and then you'll start to see them particularly to grow into kind of that financial side of things and start delivering that reporting and those kind of dashboards as well.
Okay, thanks. The next question comes from Josh. What size company is suited for Procore? We're a smaller company.
Yeah, so that's a really good question, because it's not so much the size of the company. So obviously, we work with some of the big developers, the Americans, etc. But we're really strong in that kind of subcontracting space as well, because it's more from the processes point of view. Because the way that we're priced is on what we call construction volume. So depending on the amount of construction project dollars that you're putting through, we are basically align ourselves to, I guess, a base percentage point of that. So if you're a smaller company and you're using those core tools, then it normally starts around that kind of $4 million kind of annual construction volume. And then as you grow and build more projects and more throughput, we're simply growing from that kind of base percentage point as well. So one, it provides predictability because we're one cost across the entire year, so you know how much to factor into your projects from a costing point of view. But we're scalable, right? So you start from a subcontracting point of view and then start building up into that GC and into that development. But it's not so much the size, it's complexity. If you're working on a lot of projects and you're having to keep a lot of balls in the air, that tends to be the sweet spot, versus if it's where we're not strong is like single home kind of dwelling construction, because it's almost like one project, then another project, then another project. So it's more about how many balls you're trying to keep up in the air, how many projects you're trying to get visibility on. That tends to be the more relevant question than the size. It's about how can we solve, as opposed to how much a license is, because we're just not simply done on a per user per month basis. We're actually tied to the project work that you're doing.
Okay. Next question I have here is from Alan. Where's the data stored?
Yeah, so good question. And the easy answer is where you need us to store it. So we're built on the Amazon platform. And so obviously Amazon has data centers all over the world. So wherever we need to build an instance, we will. So here in Australia, Amazon's got a number of data centers. So we're built and stored in Australia for Australian companies. However, we've also worked with multinationals, so they might have a head office here, but they want to keep all the data in the US or Singapore. So it's all built on the Amazon platform. So depending on where you need to store it, we can store it as long as there's an Amazon data center there. And that also gives us added security. So one, obviously our platform in itself is secure. We're backed up by Amazon's security as well, built into their own data centers and hardware. But it also allows, I guess, resiliency. So, we're not stored just in one place. If I say there's 3 to 4 Amazon data centers in Australia, we're backing up across those 3 or 4 data centers. So if lightning strikes not once but twice and there's 2 data centers out, we've still got your data safely stored across those other Amazon data centers. So spread across multiple data centers, but always kept in region. And if you need to move it into another region, we've got the ability to do that. If you need to export your data for whatever reason, you can do that as well.
Okay, thanks. I think you briefly touched on this next area that Joe's asked about, but I'll get Ted to address it if I can, and maybe you can add a bit more, Craig. Joe asked, there appears to be crossover in functionality between Procore and Advanced. Which do you use and when?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Joe. And it really depends on the organization. I think Craig touched on it earlier in terms of the slide that he has in terms of the crossovers. really dependent on the users themselves. If they're wanting to utilize the mobile capability for the construction specific functionalities, it's really a case-by-case basis. We would typically recommend that the Procore mobile app will be utilized for that, and in this case, Myob Advanced becomes more the financial back office product. But it really depends on the functionality. But the great news there is, as Craig pointed out, because of the cross functionalities, we're able to pick and choose what works best for the organizations in terms of flow and optimization from that point of view.
Okay, fair enough. Now, I'm not sure who to throw this question to, but Joe's also asked is, which do you implement first, Procore or Advanced? So
I'll probably take a stab at that one, and then I'll pass over to Craig. Again, it's one of the things. If organizations were in a position to do an implementations of both, it certainly makes sense to do it all in one big bang. However, if you're an organization that already has an ERP solution, then obviously the decisions being made for you in that Procore would be the best fit sort of moving forward. But if we can do an implementation jointly, quite similarly to what we're currently going through right now, it makes a lot of sense because we're able to do the workshops and identify which functionality will sit with where, as opposed to if you go ahead with the implementations of Myob, for example, you would have had preconceived determinations in terms of what functionality is going to go where. Doesn't allow for that greater flexibility and working out what product and what functionality sits where. Did you want to touch on that a little bit more, Craig?
Look, I think, yeah, it's exactly that, because it's going to come down to workflows as well. So it's understanding what are those best practice workflows are going to be. And that's also going to help you align on your adoption strategy. Because if you're moving across to 2 new platforms, you want to make sure that you understand those workflows. So you're only having to train the people that need to know about Procore. You only know that train the people about MYOB, because we all know that adopting a new system or a new application, you only really want to learn what you need to learn that's relevant to your job. So that, having that upfront conversation, understanding those workflows, where do we start, what process, when, and what tool, is also going to make sure that you've got a really successful adoption strategy and you're finding the right internal champions to be able to run that with their teams as well. And ultimately that leads to making sure that you're getting more productivity out of the users and the platforms, but that ultimately leads back to faster ROI, right? For investing in new platforms, we want to make sure that we're getting our return on investment as soon as possible. So that comes back to adoption, which flows back to workflows, which goes back to that initial kind of consultation period across both platforms as well.
Okay, fair enough. This next question I think I might actually answer. The question was, how mature is the integration of Procore and Advanced? Craig actually mentioned it during the presentation, and if memory serves, you mentioned 12 to 18 months you've been working with Myob so far. So I think that's about right, Craig?
Yeah, and it's because the 2 teams are so aligned, it is always under constant development. So as new changes come out to each platform, our development teams will work on making sure that we're constantly upgrading it as well. I think the latest upgrade, which was version, I think 6.1, whatever it was, kind of released about a month ago. So there's always going to be updates as well, because we are so closely aligned with our development teams, our sales teams, and our support teams.
Okay, good. And I think the most important question has come from Josh, and I suppose it's the question on everyone's mind. How much does it cost?
Yes. So, like I say, it is tied to the amount of project volume that you're putting through. So it's the construction dollars that you're going through on a project. So look at how much dollars is going through on a per project. How many projects are you running through a year? We call that annual construction volume, and we tie it to a percentage of that construction volume, because we are a value-based platform. We want to make sure that we are bringing that value, not just in terms of the tools, but that allows us to have that one predictability in terms of, okay, we're going to be, and I'm just throwing this number out there because it does depend on how many tool sets that you use. 1.5% of your project costs will be the platform, and that's going to be across all projects. Really easy then to cost it out on what you need for from an ROI perspective. But that also then allows us unlimited users. So again, allow anyone access to the platform. Doesn't matter who they are. If they need project visibility, give them access. Unlimited support for any of those users. They don't, you don't need to worry about someone coming on site the next day that hasn't used it before and doesn't know how to tag a photo. Call Procore straight away, jump onto the chat, and then unlimited storage. Again, doesn't matter how many photos, how many documents, how many drawing revisions, it's all just there. So you don't have to worry about, I've got a new starter, I need a new license, or I'm running out of space, do I delete stuff or do I increase storage? Don't need to worry about that, because we've built ourselves and priced ourselves to work in a project-based environment built for the way that the construction industry works.
Okay, thanks for that, Craig. I'm aware we're over time now, so we'll call it quits there. If anyone does have any questions about the presentation today, please feel free to email me direct, and I'll either get Ted or one of our other account executives to respond to you directly, or if necessary, I'll pass the inquiry through to Craig. But feel free to contact me. Once again, thank you very much. We have recorded today's webinar, and a link to the recording will be emailed to you within 24 hours of this presentation. If for some reason it doesn't reach you, please feel free to reach out to myself, and I will make sure that you do get a copy. I know your time is short and valuable, so you have the thanks of Procore and Star for attending the webinar, and we look forward to you joining our next webinar. We do have at least one webinar a month at the moment, so please look out for the invitations as they come due. So thanks and have a great day.